All right, so the car is up on the quick jacks. I'm gonna start disassembling some stuff. I'm going to get underneath here and see what I have to do to get to the coolant drain for the radiator. I think I have to take that panel off underneath there. I can't remember. So that's where we're at. All right, next thing's next. All right, I started working on this thing, and as you can see, it is cobweb central down here. And most of those are Black Widow. They're real sticky. And I just saw Black Widow up here between the intercooler and the radiator, or the air conditioning condenser. So I am going to vacuum up as much as this I can. Then I'm going to drop the driver's side panel. I'm going to go up there and get the other two screws and get that completely out of the way. And then I can reach up there and get the drain plug, which is like right up there. It's hard to see upside down, but that's the drain plug for the radiator. So get that started, and then I'll start taking the air intake and things off on the top that I need to, but I want to get this all drained. So let's first get this vacuumed up. Alright, so I got the cobwebs back as far as I could reach without having to go back farther. I'm gonna get that stuff later. But I got to this panel and got all those out of there. So I hit a curb at the grocery store the last time I drove this around town, and on this driver's side inner fender I lost the two push pins, and as you can see on my way home it rubbed. I heard it, I slowed down, got out and checked it and saw it, so I drove real slow getting home. But I need a driver's side inner fender cover because that is garbage, so I'm gonna have to hunt down one of those eventually, just to clean it up. But yeah, so the next option here is to get this engine panel off. I believe it's just two more 10s that are up there, so I'm gonna get in there with the air gun real quick and zap those fuckers out of there. Alright, so yep, just those two screws, one there and one back there. So that takes that panel out of there. I will eventually take off the driver's or the passenger side because I need to get to the belt and stuff. Just kind of taking a look. Yeah, look at how many cobwebs are up there. So we're gonna get those out of there too. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad down here. Still pretty clean. One thing of note: this is my KDM racing oil pan, and you can see that it's scratched up right here. If you look, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that is green paint, and that came from when I was at Laguna Seca. I was coming out of the corkscrew and I was a bit too far to the right, so I was pretty much off track and came down and bottomed out and hit the oil pan clearly, but it held up. It's a beast. No leaks, didn't do any other damage. Matter of fact, the day I did that, I also blew out the driver's rear tire, and I had to run the whole day on a spare, and my spare was actually a better tire. It was mismatched, but a better tire, different profile. I actually dropped 5 seconds. So if I had race tires on this thing, right now I'm still running all seasons, I'd probably get a lot better mileage. But looks like my lower transmission mount is holding up good. I don't see any squishing, nothing's bulging out, so that's a good thing. all my bars and everything are in good shape. Oh, you can see where I rub on that cross member. I rub on the street on that X cross member, so I'm pretty low. This, with the lowest pucks on my quick jacks, I can barely get the car up on them or without having to jack the car up. So yeah, I'm pretty low, but like I said, this is primarily off street anyway. All right, so I'm gonna go get my big tub and I'm going to get this coolant started to drain. All right, and something else I noticed is I've got some rubbing going on here on my hot pipe. So I've got a mark here, I've got one right there, and I've got one right there. So I need to make some sort of clamp or something to kind of hold this in position so I don't rub a hole through my pipe. That would kind of suck. So I'm gonna have to address that before I do put this thing back together. So I may end up pulling this pipe out to see what I can do to make it fit. And it's kind of a weird angle anyway, so I'm gonna have to address that too. All right, let's get this coolant out. I got my big bucket here. It almost is as tall as the car is sitting right now. So let's get the coolant out of here so I can work on the top side without making a mess. All right, so because I don't have an air box or anything in the way, I can reach that from the top. You can hear it draining. I went ahead and pulled the plug completely out. There's the coolant cap. I'll probably go ahead and replace that. Like I said, this car has over 80,000 miles on it, so we're gonna do belt and water pump and all that stuff. So we're gonna probably take the alternator out, because if I remember correctly, on the 2013 that I did, I had to replace the or take the alternator out to get to the thing. That sounds so weird. All right, so that's draining. I'm going to go ahead and start taking out my cold air intake and getting that all done so I can get down here, because I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. But I have to take the radiator lines off anyway to get the intake manifold out of the way, because it's all bolted together. And it's just easier to undo the hoses than try to figure all the bolts out. So that's what we're doing next. Pulling the cold air intake. All right, so I got the midsection of my cold air intake out. I did not have to take out my cross member. You do have to kind of finesse it and it will come out. I did have to drop the long part with the filter. It's still hanging out. I'm gonna have to pull that out because I need to clean the filter anyway. But I'm gonna go ahead and put these nut and washer back where I took them off. Trying to keep my parts bucket as clean as possible. Only put things in there I need to get off. And this is the recycling line. So on my car, I had to make a little adapter because the blow-off valve here was a different size. This is the factory hose, this one, and I just got a double barbed end set here, and then so it's a little longer, bigger on this side, then it narrows down to the factory and it's clamped. So it looks factory from the outside, not too bad. So I do need to pull the clamps for the throttle body, so that needs to come out, and I will be taking these clamps off for the hoses, and we'll see what else we can get off of here while it's draining. All right, so the other thing I did have to do is remove the cold pipe from the coupler so I could get it back far enough to get to the throttle body. I've got the screws out and I just gotta get these two coolant lines off. Let's see if I can turn those by hand at all. So I can get those out and then I can get that throttle body out of there. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. If you got fairly strong fingers, you can bend these clamps enough where you can push them to get them into an area where you can compress them and push them up the hose some. So that is stage one. I don't know if the intake is dirty or actually it feels pretty clean. Yeah, that's just dirt from my hand. So that is definitely tinier than the one I have. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I did not order a new coupler yet, so I need to go from my standard size to the new one. I saw them on Amazon for cheap. So, alright, that's gonna be my little breaking point for this portion of the video. I haven't been feeling good lately, and I'm getting very fatigued very quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and call this part one, and tomorrow I will get these other hoses off and hopefully get down to the intake relatively easy without having to fight too much more, and get all of those coolant lines, and then we'll see what I have and what I can get rid of. Alright, so the factory stock Veloster one is here on the left. The new Elantra GT is here on the right. You can clearly see there is a bit of a difference in the bore size. This is a 60 and I believe this is like 57. I can't find my calipers to verify it. Hello dog, you're not helping much here. So tomorrow, okay, get out of the way. So tomorrow I will be finishing pulling that intake apart and getting it out. Probably when I put it back together, since I won't have to be dealing with the lines, I might put it together outside the car with all the spacers and everything. I'll have to see how that works. So you're not helping. All right, thanks for watching today, and tomorrow I'm gonna try to do a little bit more work. I just don't have stamina like I used to. I think all of this with my wife has kind of worn me down a bit, so sorry for the delay.